Hello, profilers. I am Skip, and some people know me as Dan. This is Profiles After Show, and we are talking about probably the greatest actress in Hollywood history, none other than Meryl Streep. And who better to have talk about the greatest actress in Hollywood than two of our greatest profilers and people in Schmoville, Leanne and Rachel. Introduce yourselves, ladies, starting with Rachel.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. I'm really excited to talk Meryl Streep. As Dan said, one of the greatest actresses pretty much of all time. 19 Oscar nominations doesn't lie. This was another really tough top five. Basically, this woman doesn't have a bad performance, but I'm excited to talk about her.
Hey everybody, I'm Leanne. You know me basically from Schmoville. Thank you very much for having me back to do this again. Yeah, Meryl Streep, arguably the finest actress of her generation. Like Rachel says, not a bad movie in the bunch. A couple performances are, are a little mean more than others to me, but she truly is just a magnificent actress, and I can't wait to chat about her.
All right, ladies, starting with Rachel once again, we're going to do it like Alicia and Scott do it, and we're going to start with Alicia and Scott's First Blood. Alicia had Death Becomes Her, and Scott had The Deer Hunter. What was your first blood, Rachel?
So my first blood was in 1994, The River Wild. I saw it with my family. It was a family trip to the movies. It was pitched as a action-adventure movie, and that's exactly what it was. But I do find it interesting in hindsight that my first exposure to such a top-notch dramatic actress was as an action star, and she was a really good action star. The whole movie was a lot of fun, very tense, fast-paced. I think it was the second thing I ever saw Kevin Bacon in, and the first time I ever saw him as a villain, and he is a great villain. So it was just a fun, wild ride, and she definitely made an impression. And then later on, you know, in my 20s or whatnot, I looked back on her filmography and saw what an amazing dramatic actress she was. But The River Wild was my first blood.
Leanne?
My first blood with her was actually Silkwood, way the hell back in the 80s. It wasn't when it had just come out, but it was like right after it came out. And I mean, truly for a teenager at that time, you're seeing something like this, and she just kind of blew me away with it. You know, Cher's in it, and Kurt Russell's in it, and everybody just gelled together. But she was such a force on the screen that you're just like, oh my God, you know, who is this woman? I mean, I really didn't know, you know, much about her because it's like, who is she? I had no idea about her. And then it was like after I saw that, it's like, well, I'm going to keep my eye and see what she's doing and kind of follow her along and, you know, see where she goes to from there. I mean, she had already done Kramer versus Kramer. She'd already done Whatchamajigget, The Deer Hunter, and it was cool to see her in something like this, which is such a powerful movie in its own right. So Silkwood was my first blood on that one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Leanne. I'm sure we'll be talking about Silkwood a little bit more further down on the show. My first blood, I'm kind of like you in a little way, Leanne. I'm a little bit older, and when I was a kid, my first blood that I saw, it was about 4 or 5 years after it came out, was Kramer versus Kramer. And when I saw that movie, I was just blown away by the story as a whole, because, you know, I was a 5-6-year-old kid, you know, a little kid, 7 years old, whatever, and it hit me that, you know, my mom could leave me like that and leave me with my dad, and, you know, we won't get into it. My dad wasn't a good guy, so I didn't want to be left with my dad. So Kramer versus Kramer really hit me hard as a kid, and that was my first blood. And I'm sure we'll all get to talk about that a little bit more later on. So let's get into Alicia and Scott's Fast Five, number 5. And their Fast Five, number 5, was Doubt. And I just got done watching Doubt. So let's see if anybody has Doubt on their Fast Five. Rachel?
So Doubt, Sister Aloysius is not in my Fast Five, but only because I can't cram in 8 performances into a top 5 as much as I want to. She is just so formidable in this role, downright scary. She has, I don't know how to describe it, but it's this veneer that is like uncrackable until that very last scene. And it's frightening, I think, to not just the kids in the movie, but anybody watching, because she just seems so closed off. And the accent is great, as always. And she just has this indomitable crusade throughout the whole movie, and she just goes toe-to-toe with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who we all know is one of the greats, and Amy Adams, and it's just a real tour de force performance. But for me, not one of my favorites, probably because I was pretty scared of her in it, but also because I found the motivations hard. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Catholicism and issues with growing up and just organized religion in general, but so for me to have a crusade based on nothing in that sort of world it's a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Doesn't mean she wasn't brilliant in it, but it's a hard movie to watch, and I have others higher in the list that I like better, if you will. So not on my list.
Leanne?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Rachel on that one. It's a good movie. It's a hard movie to watch. I mean, the woman can definitely act, and you believe her in every single role that she's in, and she gets on this moral high horse, and I was afraid of her too. I mean, she was like really, I went to Catholic school, so it's, you know, I'm sitting there thinking about the nuns that taught me, and were they like that, and you sit there and you hope to yourself, my God, I really hope they weren't. But then I talked to my mom, and she's like, well, yeah, the nuns were like that. They had this, you know, this moral high ground that they were always right, and they were gonna, you know, the truth was always going to be their calling card, if you will. She just manages to knock this role out of the park. Not on my top 5 at all, but it's just, she is such a chameleon as an actress that you believe her no matter what she's doing, and you believe that she is this nun who is sent, that she is going to find the truth, and she really does knock it right out of the park. Again, we can only do 5. Yeah, it's not in my top 5, but it is a brilliant performance from her.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it 3 for 3 with Doubt. This is the 3rd time this year I've actually seen Doubt because various reasons. I, like you guys, have a past that involves Catholicism and Catholic school. I went to Catholic school in Lowell, Massachusetts when I was 7 years old. I was in 2nd grade, and I actually had a father that kind of took me under his wing because, you know, I had a rough upbringing, and his name was Father Dan, and he was a real nice guy before our family moved to New Hampshire. And so I could really relate to Donald in Doubt, knowing that he's different and that, you know, the father took him under his wing to try to help him out, to try to, you know, bring him forward in school because he was the only black kid in that school. So I really can relate to Donald and the father played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Sister Aloysius, I mean, I think it's a great performance by Meryl Streep, but in my opinion, it's a little bit over the top because the guy's trying to help this kid out, and she makes it into this whole big deal over nothing, and that's what kind of, I mean, I really thought the performance by Meryl Streep was fantastic, but when it comes down to it, it was all for nothing, and that's what bothered me the most about her crusade. Okay, so now we're going to go into our right stuff. This time we're going to start with Leanne. Leanne, what is your right stuff in Meryl Streep movies?
Like I just, when I just said, I love that she can become anything in the movies. I mean, she makes you believe no matter what she's doing, and even, you know, when she was doing The Deer Hunter, I mean, she had this kind of just thing about her that you're going to believe no matter what. And as she's going along in her career, what I always look for from her in movies is, do I believe her in the role? Okay. Um, like the Iron Lady, not a personal favorite at all. I really just did not care for the movie, but man, you thought she was Margaret Thatcher. Honest to God, I have to believe her in the role in order to enjoy the movie with her, and she always makes me believe it. Honest to God, she I don't know what it is about this woman and how she became what she's a legend, truly, but she really just has something, and she keeps going with it, and you'll follow her to the end of time because of how good she is at what she does. I mean, she's excellent at her craft, and that's
All
what
right,
I'm looking for.
all right, Leanne. What is your favorite scene involving Meryl Streep in all of her movies that you've seen, or your scene that you think is the best scene that you've seen?
I think I think the party scene in Heartburn, because Heartburn is just, it's such a heartbreaking movie because it's based on Bernstein, from Woodward and Bernstein, and she comes in, and she's found out that he's cheating on her, and she just comes in and she just nails Nicholson in the face. But it's heartbreaking. I mean, you're seeing a relationship with these two people, and she's in love with him, and he's playing around on her, and it's just right at that moment you're thinking to yourself, this isn't an actress pulling off this role. This is a wife who's been cheated on. In that moment for me, I really do. I love that movie. I think it's just one of the great movies that she's done. It just really gets me every single time when I see it. It's a hard movie to watch. It really is, because certain movies do that to me. If there's cheating involved or whatever, I really have to get behind it to watch it. And just that scene, it just makes me cry when I see it. It's crazy. I know it's stupid. I'm sorry.
Definitely not stupid.
All right, Rachel.
So my right stuff is, and I've done a lot of after shows with you guys, and I don't normally do this, but I have to in this case. I have to go with the scene that Alicia also chose, which is the final reveal scene, the scene that makes Sophie's choice. And I have to pick it because it's a gut punch, and she does gut punches so well in multiple movies, but this is the gut punch for me. This is the emotional climax culmination of this whole movie, because her brilliant performance is letting you know there's more to her story than she's told you so far, and little by little it comes out, and then when she tells the story of what she had to do in that train yard and to choose between her children, and it's so emotional and it's so impactful. She's beautiful in it. She's devastating in it. She's doing it in German. It's just the most impactful scene, I think, of any scene that she's ever done, and just her most brilliant and moving, and Meryl Streep at Meryl Streep's best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually think that was Scott's right stuff. It's all right though, but that's kind of so funny, Rachel. That's why I put down 2 right stuff, because I had a feeling that somebody was going to choose that Sophie's Choice, the final scene in Sophie's Choice, where she's explaining to Stingo the whole story about Auschwitz and the Nazis and choosing which one of her children. It's one of the most heartbreaking scenes I've ever seen in any movie. I cannot explain how just dreadful that has to be to go through, and that scene. What I like about it is they go in that movie. They go from this beautiful pink house and Brooklyn, and then they go to those drab, dreary scenes during Auschwitz and Germany and all that, and the contrasting colors were just fantastic in that movie. So I decided to choose something different because I had a sneaking suspicion somebody might choose that. So I decided to go with Dustin Hoffman, the first morning where he wakes up and he's a father with a child. He's a single father with a child, and he decides to cook his breakfast in waffles, not waffles, French toast for his son. and of course things are going wrong. He burns his hand, he spills things, and the son's telling him what his mother did and this and that and the other. I always thought that was just such a powerful first scene, one of the first scenes you see with him and that little boy in Kramer versus Kramer. So I decided to go with that one instead. But we'll get more into Kramer versus Kramer later, I'm sure. Okay, now we're going to go back to Alicia and Scott's Fast Five. And, of course, we got The Devil Wears Prada. Well, I got two ladies on the panel with me today. I wonder if one of them has The Devil Wears Prada. Rachel, it's your turn this time.
I do have The Devil Wears Prada on my top 5. It is my 5th spot. Miranda Priestley is just the bitch to end all bitches. She is fantastic in this role. She's at her most regal and royal. She walks a little taller. Her chin is just a little bit higher. Every move she makes, every soft line she does, it's all infused with this sense of judgment and disdain for everything around her. And it's just so much fun. It's so like deliciously evil. But then Meryl Streep does what Meryl Streep does. She gives it another layer. It's not a two-dimensional devil. There is more going on here. This is a woman that has crawled her way to the top and has to cling to it with every ounce of her being because it's a rough world that she's the top of. And you get those scenes where she's a little bit broken, but then she puts her face back on, she puts her Prada back on, and she waltzes back out there like she owns the world, because she does, and she's earned that. And it's just delightfully fun and wicked and interesting, and who would have thought Meryl Streep would do a role like this and then do it so well that she would, you know, get an Oscar nomination for it and up the ante with people going to see it, and I think Anne Hathaway benefited from it, and you know, it just skyrocketed very much because of Meryl's performance. So it's my Fast Five number 5.
Leanne?
It's my Fast Five number 4 actually. This is one of these movies. I actually read the book first, and the book is really good, and the ending is quite different than the ending of the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it. You have to read the book. I actually like the ending of the book much better. Go figure. She just embodies almost pure evil in this. She really is just one of those people that nothing ruffles her feathers except the one part in the movie where she's like, you see her as being human, but her character is so beyond being human. She's almost not superhuman, but she has no tolerance for people who are beneath her, and she has nothing but contempt for them. And it's like when she was giving Andy the dressing down about the blue sweater, you're just like, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and I'm going, oh my God, this poor girl. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't, like, her face didn't change color. Nothing. She was as cool as a cucumber, and she was basically giving her such a verbal tongue lashing that you're sitting there going, oh my God, you know, is she going to be, you know, fired for whatever? I thought she was brilliantly cast in this. She really just gets into these characters, and there is no gray area. You either like the character that she does, or you despise the character that she does. And this character, Miranda Priestley, you are supposed to despise her. You are supposed to think she's horrible, but at the same time, you understand why she is the way that she is. She's very much perfectionist. She wants things a certain way. They have to be a certain way. She killed it. I mean, I love the movie. The movie's fun to watch because it's just it's like deliciously evil to watch her like this. She doesn't have a care in the world in the movie, and when she finally does break down and shows that little tiny spark of humanity, you know that fast is going to be put away. And it's, you know, when Andy is trying to help her toward the end, and she's, you know, she's telling her things that she thinks that she should know, and it doesn't faze her. Nothing phases her. I love it. I think it's one of the better roles that she ever did. Quite honestly, it's definitely number 4 on my list. And you know what, I actually might watch it again tomorrow if I'm off from school because it's actually that much fun for me. I love watching that.
Yeah, I watched it again yesterday, preparing for this after show, and I'm right there with you, ladies. It's a great movie and a great well, not as much a great movie as a great performance by Meryl Streep, and she does elevate the movies because of her performances. And Rachel, you hit the nail on the head there. Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt, their careers skyrocketed after that. I mean, and even Stanley Tucci was in a bunch of stuff after that. You probably didn't see him in a whole lot before that, but man, he went and did a bunch of roles after that. Emily Blunt, who's, you know, star cannot get any higher, and neither can Anne Hathaway, and she went on to win an Oscar. Unfortunately, though, ladies, I do not have The Devil Wears Prada in my Fast Five. I have a few other Meryl performances in there, so we are going to move on. I just wanted to say one thing. Her character was loosely based on Anna Wintour,
Yeah.
the editor of Vogue, so I just wanted to get that in there. Okay, now we're going to go to any kind of trivia or any kind of anecdotes or anything, notes or anything that you might want to say about Meryl or any of her movies, ladies. We'll start with Leanne this time.
I think one of the best things that I ever heard about her, she had a relationship with John Cazale from The Godfather, The Deer Hunter. I mean, and he was, you want to talk about a brilliant actor whose life was just taken way too soon. But she had quite a long relationship with him. And when they were doing The Deer Hunter, he was already sick. He already had cancer. And she actually paid to have him in the movie because I mean everybody like contributed to have him in there, but she was with him until he passed away, and it's just one of those, like, she just loved him so much, and it would have been one of those really great love affairs in Hollywood that they would have been together forever. But I think it's just shows the kind of person that she is, that, you know, they really just wanted him in this movie so badly. And they didn't want to finance him in the movie, and she helped to pave that way. And I just always thought that was such a great thing to hear, that somebody would do that for somebody, you know. I mean, regardless of whether she was dating him or not, but it's just one thing that always struck with me about her, that she did that.
Rachel?
I've got a couple little tidbits in honor of Roger Ebert, who passed last year. He went on record having a fun quote about her ridiculous ability to speak in various accents and languages, and he said that hers was the first accent he ever wanted to hug, and I thought that was cute. And when I've been rewatching some of Meryl's early roles, and it's astonishing what a dead ringer her daughter is for her from that age.
Right?
Gummer. It's nuts. And I remembered, and see if you guys know what it is, there's a movie that they acted in together that they played the same character, one as the younger role and then Meryl as the older role. Do you guys know what the movie is?
I want to say it was Heartburn. No.
And that's not the one I'm thinking of. I won't say that's not possible.
The daughter was in it. She was in one of the scenes.
That's me.
But no. What movie was that?
My guess is The Iron Lady.
Nope. It's a little movie called Evening that Hugh Dancy and Claire Danes, Meryl Streep all starred in. I think maybe late 90s, early 2000s. It's actually a really nice little movie. It's just small and underrated. But yeah, that's my favorite question. Yeah, why not? I mean, they look so much alike. It's perfect.
Oh, sure. That's funny, Leanne. You took some of my notes, and then also Rachel took some of my notes. I was going to talk about the languages and the accents. I mean, she something like 7 languages she has acted in, and of course a boatload of different accents she's used. But you know, just in the the pile of movies. I've watched 10 movies in the last 3 days, like 4 different languages in the 10 movies I've watched. You know, I couldn't get around to Out of Africa before the show tonight, but that would have been a 5th language I would have watched a movie with her. And I had all the stuff about John Cazale, how she was going to drop out of The Deer Hunter, and unless they kept John Cazale in The Deer Hunter. And if anybody really wants to learn about John Cazale, he was in 5 movies before he died. 5 great movies, I might add. Both Godfather 1 and 2, Dog Day Afternoon, The Deer Hunter, and the 5th one eludes me right now. I can't think of what the 5th one was that he was in, but there's a documentary, and it's on DVD and Blu-ray, about John Cazale, if you're interested in him. His career was, he had a great career going for him when he died. And you're right, that was the beginning of a love affair before he died. She really did love John Cazale, Meryl Streep. But I have a few other notes. Real quick here. I know she had 5 Grammy nominations, and she sang in Silkwood, Mamma Mia, and obviously Into the Woods. So she actually had a pretty good singing voice, Meryl Streep. And this past year, if anybody didn't know this, but Meryl Streep was actually in 3 movies in 2014. She was in The Giver, The Homesman, and Into the Woods. So if you're interested in seeing some of her movies this past year, those are some smaller performances, except for Into the Woods, which got nominated for an Oscar. I don't think it deserved it. Even though I love Meryl Streep, I don't think she deserved that Oscar nomination.
No.
Let's see here. She donated her wardrobe for Devil Wears Prada to charity, which, you know, that's always a good thing, you know, to see that she's got a good heart. She was going to be she went to school to be a lawyer. So that's kind of interesting.
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
Oh,
who would be Meryl Streep if she wasn't around?
I know. You're right. That is weird. And Goldie Hawn was originally going to be Joanne Kramer in Kramer versus Kramer. Let's see here. And she won 3 Oscars for The Iron Lady, Sophie's Choice, and Kramer versus Kramer. And I got something about a movie later on, but I'm going to wait until I talk about that movie later on. So now we're going to go back to Fast 5, number 3, and Kramer versus Kramer for Alicia and Scott. I'm sure you ladies going to have a lot to say about this great movie, and I will after y'all speak first. So, Rachel, what do you got to say about Kramer versus Kramer? Is it on your Fast 5?
It definitely is. Kramer versus Kramer is actually my number 2 because I think it's her strongest supporting role, and it's that much more impressive because it's a supporting role, and what she does with the limited time she has on screen is so powerful. She changes the dynamic of the story. This should be a black and white, story. It should be we side with Dustin Hoffman's Ted because he's the side of story we see. We see her walk out on her husband and kid. Then we don't see her. All we see is him struggling to make this work and slowly but surely succeeding to the point where it's heartwarming and you love them together and you want that to be the happy ending. And then she comes back in and you just want to hate her for it. Like, how could you do what you did? But as her story starts to unfold and through the court cases, you realize there was another side to the story. We just didn't see it. And she has to express her side in these very few scenes. And she does. She does it so compellingly that the entire black and whiteness of it becomes gray. You start to realize that there was a backstory, that she left for some pretty good reasons. And you also feel encouraged, and I admired her for going and finding herself and figuring out the things that were wrong and figuring out what she needed to do with her life to be a whole person and not just a mother or not just a wife. And so she comes back having learned more about herself, and she's still learning more. She's learning things during the trial, which is ultimately why she makes the decision she makes. And you do get sort of the happy ending, but it's because both characters grew throughout the movie. You just didn't see her doing the growing. And those moments in the courtroom and that moment at the end, she sells that. I mean, her eyes are so expressive, and she's so close to tears most of the time, and you just feel it. It's authentic, and it elevates the movie because the movie has two sides, and you can see both sides, and that's a testament to her for sure. So number 2 for me.
I actually had Kramer versus Kramer at number 5 on my list. I came from my parents got divorced when my father left when I was 13, and when you see something like this, whenever you see a movie that has divorced parents in it, and there's inevitably like a custody battle, and it's what happens in movies is kind of different than what happens in real life. But liberties are taken, things like this. The court scenes, they were like the truest that I had ever seen before. I read something about this movie one time, and somebody said it's not so much that they were bad people. They really weren't. They were bad at being married. Okay, and they both love their son. I don't doubt that she loved her son, but like Rachel, as you said, you don't really know what's going on with her because she's a supporting character. It's very much the dynamic of the father and the son. And when you finally do start to see things chipped away, so you can see what's about her, she's not a villain. She was trying to find herself. And it's one of those things as they're duking this out and they're just deliberately trying to hurt each other. And it's so true people do in divorce cases. They're very much, I want to hurt the other person. I want to make life miserable for them. Why shouldn't I? She walked out on me. I'm going to make her life miserable. I had to get away from him. He made my life miserable. So it's one of those things that him and her just played, her and Dustin Hoffman played off each other so well. And they made the movie believable from a divorcing couple they each want the son, and ultimately it's like somebody's going to lose here. It's just very raw. It's a very emotional movie. It's one of those movies that you don't just pop it in because you're bored. I mean, it really just rips right through you. I'm glad it's on my list, because it's hard for me to watch movies like that, but it's not one that I would ever take off of my list of top 5 with her, because it was just so very true to what happens in real life, and that's something I think that movies get wrong a lot of times, and in this case, she helped to make it right. This is what happens. This is how people hurt each other. Just a tour de force for her, even though in a supporting role, it really was she was great in it. She really was.
Yeah, I agree with both you ladies. You both said a mouthful about this, and I got a comment read on profiles about this as well. So this movie means a lot to me. I have Kramer versus Kramer at number 3 on my Fast 5. I know I'm a man, and so it's gonna come across as maybe a little bit trite, but I really feel that Dustin Hoffman's character, he stayed and he tried to help that kid, and he tried to take care of that kid. He tried to work, and despite the fact that he lost his job because he cared so much about his son and giving his son the care that he needed, be there when he's in the park. He fell and he ran him to the hospital, and he loses his job because he loves his own son. I mean, and then she's gonna bail out. She's gonna bail out on him. How dare you? Who bails out? I know mental illness is something that we're discovering more and more about today, and in the 70s we didn't know a lot about mental illness. But who bails out? There's a lot of poor families and people that are having a hard time. You don't see moms bailing out all the time like that, and I just felt like she bailed out, and it has nothing to do with Meryl Streep's performance. She does give a fantastic performance, and Dustin Hoffman gives one of his best performances of his career. But this movie really, really was so true to today. Like Scott said, 50% of families are getting divorces, and they're going through this filthy, nasty custody battles over their children, you know. But there's still a lot of kids and a lot of families that are staying together despite hard times, and I just felt like she didn't have the right to bail out like that, even though she did have a mental illness and she had to find herself, and she didn't get along with her husband. You know, she has a right to say, okay, you know what, I don't get along with you anymore. I think we should have a divorce, and we should talk about our son right now. Not disappeared for however long she disappeared. I don't know how long, 8, 10 months, something like that. But I've already talked too much about this. I don't want to go on too much, but I really, really love this movie. It was such a great movie. Like I said, it was my first blood. Okay, now we're going to go. I know Scott and Alicia didn't do player, but if there's any Meryl Streep characters that aren't on your Fast Five that you're going to talk about eventually or something like that, but that you really like the character she portrays and something else in another movie, let me know. Let us know who they are, what her performances are. Leanne, you go this time.
There's, you know what? There's one character. It is on my Fast Five, and I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm going to definitely talk about it even more. She did this little movie in 1991 called Defending Your Life.
Ugh, love that movie.
And it's, you know, honest to God, I saw it on like an off channel or something. And you know what? I've never forgotten this movie, and I absolutely love it. But she was just such a good person. You know, like when they're watching everything about her and her life is perfect, and it's like, why did she die then? I mean, why is she there? But it's, you know, it's characters, little characters like that, because it was a very normal character for her. She is so much. Let me throw the accents out there. I will throw out there Margaret Thatcher. That movie did not make my top 5 whatsoever. No disrespect to the woman. She's a great actress. What a boring movie it was. But she really was amazing as Margaret Thatcher. That's what's so strange about it. The movie itself, I think, is very long-winded. I think it's a little too long. But her portrayal is amazing. It really and truly is. She looked just like her. I'm still a little bitter that she won the Academy Award over Viola Davis that year for that role. But it is, you know, you have to acknowledge the fact that she really did her homework on it, and she became Margaret Thatcher. So, you know, God love her on that one. But those are the two that really stick out for me.
Rachel?
So a movie that just misses out on my Fast Five is Julie and Julia. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's half a great movie. I don't think the Julie parts are that great, but Meryl Streep as Julia Child is brilliant. It's my favorite of her more lighthearted roles. She is so effervescent in it and just joyful and buoyant, and her chemistry with Stanley Tucci is like, it's almost hotter than any other movie that she's been in with, like, some of these hot guys, Kurt Russell, you name it, but like, they're just so much fun, and the repartee is great, and it joyful is the best way to describe it, and it's not a caricature. She embraces and embodies what Julia Child was, doesn't make fun of it. She just pays homage to it in such a delightful, beautiful way, and that's a movie that I will stop and watch if it's on TV or whatnot, and just fast forward to those parts, because it's such a beautiful and fun and lighthearted role. So I love her in that. Another role that I know was very divisive, and it's not a fantastic movie, but her Violet Weston in August Osage County is one of those tear the roof down performances. Like, it's guttural, it's big, it's bold, it's horrible. She does not play a great human being, but she just chews the scenery, and it kind of looks like she's having a blast doing it. So I love her for throwing herself into roles like that. So I think it's worth mentioning, even though it's not one of her best movies.
Well, Rachel stole mine, so I have to. Good thing I wrote a list of them down here. God, I'm going to talk about Julie and Julia a little bit later on. So I'm not going to say anything about that right now. But I have obviously Sister Aloysius, Joanna Kramer, Karen Silkwood, Sophie, Julia Child, and Meryl, Margaret Thatcher. So both of y'all kind of, in a way, stole one of mine. But it's hard to pick different ones when you know the great performances. And just to go off on a little bit what Leanne said, wow, was she amazing as Margaret Thatcher or what? I mean, if that movie, if she's not Margaret Thatcher in that movie just takes a nosedive into stinkiness. I mean, it's so horrible of a movie. Without her, with the accent, she looks like Margaret Thatcher. But I saw something a few years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, somehow she was a big supporter of Margaret Thatcher and what Margaret Thatcher did in England and stuff. Of course, I think I mean, Rachel's a little bit younger than you and I, Leanne, but we all remember Margaret Thatcher, and it's just like, wow, she channels Margaret Thatcher in that movie, you know? And I'll talk about
Saving Grace.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Julia Child a little bit later on. But we're going to get back into Scott and Alicia's Fast Five #2, and I'm sure we're going to have a few of us, or one of us, or two of us, talking about Silkwood. So this time, Rachel, it's your turn to go first.
Yeah, so Silkwood is the most recent one I just finished watching yesterday, and I kind of forgot how amazing she is in this. We've talked about her burying herself in her roles. I think this is one of the roles that epitomizes that the most. She's wearing a mullet. She's smoking constantly. She plays this lower class Texas woman working in a factory. And it could be very two-dimensional, but she just delivers it with this kind of understated gusto, and she's got a little bit of swagger at the top, and she's just this intriguing character, and it's unlike anything you're used to seeing from her, because she was used to playing like the beauty, like the luminescent type of woman. She does it in The Deer Hunter. It's her face. She's so gorgeous, and there's Sophie and whatnot. But this was just down and kind of dirty, and it fit the story of Karen Silkwood, which is just a both inspiring and a terrible story at the same time. Streep just plays that journey perfectly, going from this woman who's, doing really good with her life and her job and her man, and everything's going well, and then she starts to learn little things about what's really going on in this nuclear factory she works in, and instead of being like all the other workers who just bury their noses in the sand and don't want to rock the boat, she goes out and she learns. She reads what she can read. She talks to the union people. The more she sees, the more she realizes that she herself is in danger as well as everybody else. And it all just culminates in what was almost My Right Stuff scene, which is when they try to intimidate her and they raid her house, they plant plutonium, it looks like she's going to die from it, they take all of her things, she's crying in the yard, she's so upset, and the big terrible boss guy comes up and says, "We'll help you, we'll give you money, we'll do whatever it takes, don't worry, we'll take care of you." And she's like, "But only if I sign something, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, just no worries, you'll take the blame for it, and then you'll be fine." And she basically just says a big F you and drives away. Like, she stands up for everything she believes, even though she thinks she's dying and she's just lost so much, she still does the right thing. And it's so heroic and so inspiring, and Streep once again just nails it. It's a really great movie, despite some of the dating quality of it, but it's inspiring is the best word for it. And so it's #3 on my list.
Leanne?
Silkwood is also #3 on my list. Truly, it's one of those movies. Like I said, when I first saw this, you don't think things like this can really happen, and yet it does. It happens all the time. People. There are whistleblowers in every industry, and the fact that she was willing to stick her neck out because she had seen what had been happening. And it's like nobody wants to talk to her. Nobody wants to be anywhere near her. She was becoming a pariah. Honest to God, it's almost like she was channeling for me when I saw this. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Norma Ray before with Sally Field, but it was almost like these two movies could be bookends to each other. because Norma Ray is such a powerful film, and it's this one person who's standing up for what she believes in, and she's union, the whole thing, and Karen Silkwood she's doing the same thing, but she's doing it in such a way that she's trying to protect the people, that she protect her friends, and her friends want nothing to do with this. Her roommate's like, no. No. Her boyfriend, he hits the bricks. He doesn't want any part of this. Nobody will talk and defend her with this. When they break in and they basically start gaslighting her that you're sick, she walks by a detector and all of a sudden it starts going off and you're like, what just happened with this? It's scary to think that something like that really does happen, and it does. And she brought that kind of raw fear into the role. You don't know what's going to happen to her, and nobody really knows what happened to this poor woman. I mean, she just disappeared one day, and it's like she took it and she took the ball and she ran with it. It is one of the most powerful movies I had ever seen, and for a teenager seeing this, you're like, oh my God. This is crazy. This doesn't happen in real life. To me, it was scarier than anything that I had ever seen, and I had seen aliens, and I had seen things like that. This to me, because it was common man who was doing this to her. This wasn't some creature in the night. These were businessmen who were doing this that made her life miserable, and she was trying to stand up for what she, for her friends, and because this was wrong. Just an amazing, amazing performance from her on all levels, truly.
Yeah, you both said a mouthful about Silkwood. I had Silkwood at actually I said Kramer versus Kramer was 3, but actually it was 2, and Silkwood is 3, so I switched those up. I didn't look at my sheet here. Yeah, I have Silkwood at number 3, not number 2 like I thought. But I'm right there with you. I just watched it again this weekend to refresh, and it's so sad that companies are doing this to people, and they're getting away with this in some of these small backwater towns and cities and stuff like that, just because these people need a job. And I actually went through this a few years ago with the union that I was working with in this. My employer, how I didn't think the conditions of our working environment and our pay rate and some of the things that were going on at the employer that I worked for, and I kind of went through, obviously not to the extent with this nuclear factory, and what she had to get these wash downs, and they scrubbed her raw. I mean, her skin was all red and everything, and then they try to say that she was already contaminated and all this stuff. I mean, that is one of the most raw, no pun intended, but raw performances Meryl Streep has ever given. I mean, she's done like Margaret Thatcher and Julia Child and all these different people, and some of the costumes and some of the things she's worn are all fancy clothes and nice hair and all that, but she was so down, gritty and dirty, kind of like Ironweed in a way. Ironweed, she was like a bum. And yeah, she was fantastic in that movie. I mean, I cannot say enough about how good her performance was, and it just tells you back then she was just at the peak of her career. She was only getting started, and she was doing movies like Silkwood and Kramer versus Kramer and The Deer Hunter and French Lieutenant's Woman and all those movies. I have it at number 3. Okay, now. Don't go into a whole lot of detail with these, but I'm going to let you all mention some honorable mentions or movies that didn't make your Fast 5. Scott and Alicia had French Lieutenant's Woman, Heartburn, The River Wild, Bridges of Madison County, Out of Africa, and Adaptation. So let me know what some of yours are, ladies. We'll start with Leanne this time.
Some of my, let me see. She's has such an impressive list of movies. It's like, how can anything be an honorable mention where she's concerned? I would give Into the Woods an honorable mention. It was okay, but it's not enough to make my top 5. The Iron Lady was never going to make an honorable mention because I just hated the movie that much. I'm so sorry. I really just didn't like it. Mamma Mia, I throw a bone to that one. It was kind of fun. It was goofy, and it was fun to see her acting goofy instead of, with the accents and everything. She was just there with it. I think there was one other movie, and I can't think of what it was called. Oh man, that's gonna bug the hell out of me now. I think that Out of Africa, because it was just a beautifully shot movie. I mean, she was wonderful in it, but it's not one of my top 5. But and Ironweed was good as well. But again, didn't make my top 5. But it's one of those performances. Watch the movie because it's good.
Do you have anything on your Fast 5 that we haven't mentioned yet besides, we know what number 1 probably is, so don't mention that. Any others on your Fast 5 real quick?
I put Defending Your Life on my Fast 5, believe it or not. I just really love that movie. I don't know why. It's goofy, and it's, Albert Brooks he's a good foil to her because she lived such a, just a pure life, and he was just this selfish dude and did what he wanted to do, and he's trying to catch up with her. So it's just one of those movies that whenever I see it, I will definitely stop on it and I will definitely watch it. I loved the Julia part of Julie and Julia, just like Rachel did. Amy Adams really annoyed me to no end. I hated every part of her that was in it, but man, did she do a great Julia child. Her and Stanley Tucci are just crackling in that movie, and it's just, they are really wonderful together. And she embodies Julia Child. She really does. So they are definitely like numbers 1 and 2. I could throw The Deer Hunter in there as well, but that movie really is stolen by Christopher Walken for me. So I would definitely give that an honorable mention as well. It's just that's an amazing movie, and it's a hard movie to watch, and it's just heartbreaking. And also, like, Heartburn is one of my favorites as well. I said that before. So those are just my, like, honorable mentions and my list of the top 5s.
All right, Rachel.
So a couple of quick honorable mentions for me. Leanne, I love that you love Defending Your Life. That movie is fantastic, and it is just such a, like you said, like kind of a normal-ish role for her, which is nice. Sometimes simple is good, and Albert Brooks is phenomenal in it, and it's a lot of fun. So that I would be an honorable mention for sure. I also love it when Clint Eastwood goes quieter with his movies, and I think Bridges of Madison County is fantastic. She does an Italian accent in this one, and it's a quieter, simpler movie. It just takes place over 4 days, and their chemistry felt really authentic to me, and I really liked that movie. But I'm going to have to disagree with Leanne on one aspect. Karen Blixen from Out of Africa is number 4 on my list. This might be my favorite Meryl Streep movie, just as a movie. I can watch this movie over and over again. I have loved it since I was a teenager. It's gorgeous. Robert Redford, Be Still My Heart. Like, I loved her character because it was so adventurous, of her time, but also ahead of her time, and her journey over these 20 years in Africa and all the things she had to deal with, and how she went and gambled everything on this farm and married a man she didn't even love, but made the most of it and learned so much and learned to care for the native people and not to care about what other people thought, and then to have this love affair to end all love affairs with Robert Redford's Dennis, who's this also kind of wild at heart person, and the flying in the plane scenes and everything. It's so gorgeous, and I love her gutsy, adventurous spirit. And it's also kind of heartbreaking because she's also still a flawed woman, and she tries to corner Dennis into having a more traditional relationship, and it ends up backfiring on her. But she still has this sort of indomitable spirit in the movie that I just absolutely love. So Out of Africa is in my top 5 for sure, my number 4 spot.
Yeah, I have Out of Africa. I mean, what a great movie. It didn't make my Fast 5, but absolutely in my honorable mentions. I had Devil Wears Prada, Iron Lady, Doubt, and Ironweed, adaptation, all in my honorable mention. But the one I alluded to earlier, also the Deer Hunter was number 4 on my Fast Five. Wow, what a just phenomenal movie! Phenomenal movie, but phenomenal performances by some of the greats of all time. I mean, you legitimately some of the greats of all time: Walken, De Niro, Meryl Streep. I mean, they were all phenomenal in that movie. The Deer Hunter, wow, what a crazy movie!
Oh my God.
The Russian roulette. Oh my God! I
Oh,
mean, what's his name after going through Vietnam? He just started wanting to play Russian roulette all the time. He couldn't live with himself. Oh, something happened to Leanne. But so I guess I'll just say Julie and Julia. I absolutely love this movie. It's number 5 on my Fast Five. You both stole what I was going to say. There she is. She's back. The Julia Child part of this movie was the best part of this movie. She was fantastic in this movie. How she did not win the Oscar over Sandra Bullock, I have no idea. How Sandra Bullock won for The Blind Side over Meryl Streep, I think this was the Oscar she should have won for. Yeah, she was phenomenal as the Iron Lady, but I think it was kind of like a token Oscar. I know if an Oscar can be a token Oscar. I mean, I
yes.
think that's the one. That's the one time where she gets the token Oscar for the Iron Lady. She was fantastic in the Iron Lady. If she wasn't good in it, she wouldn't have won it. But she deserved, in my opinion, to win the Oscar for Julia Child.
Absolutely.
That was the best part about. I was annoyed by Amy Adams as well. That's so odd. And the irony of that's her second time working with Amy Adams, and they ain't even seen each other in the movie. And then, of course, Doubt. They worked together, and Stanley Tucci with Devil Wears Prada, and now Julie and Julia. But Nora Ephron, rest her, God rest her soul. What a great director! I just wanted to bring up Nora Ephron. She worked with Tom Hanks. We did Tom Hanks last week, Sleepless in Seattle, and You Got Mail, and then obviously a few times with Meryl Streep with Julie and Julia and Silkwood. So I just wanted to bring up Nora Ephron, and I just love. If you're hungry, do not watch Julie and Julia, because you're going to be starving by the end of that movie. You'll be like, I'm going to go eat a feast. Okay. Well, with all that being said, I ranted on Julie and Julia. Now we come to that time where we're going to go to Scott and Alicia's Fast Five number 1, and just like on the show when they talked about it, everybody knows what it is. So it's we're going to get all the ladies here to talk about Sophie's Choice, and this time it's Leanne's turn to go first. Where does Sophie's Choice fall in your Fast Five? Leanne? All right. Never mind. Rachel, you go.
All right. This is a case where I agree with Scott and Alicia 100%. It is my Fast Five number 1. It was actually the easiest decision I made with my Fast Five. This role for Meryl Streep is just quintessential. It's both luminous and devastating at the same time. Ostensibly the story is this coming-of-age story about this southern kid in New York who's going to write his book, and he ends up in this house with this couple as a neighbor, and her entrance and when she walks through the door, he's so taken with her, and we as an audience are too. She just pulls you in with this presence, and you're caught there, just like Nathan is, just like Stingo is, and you want to know more because Meryl's Meryl, and there's something in the eyes. There's more to the story than she's telling you, and the movie slowly reveals all the pieces and the hell that she went through. It's just plain devastating, and she did both parts of the role brilliantly. The current day storylines with Nathan and Stingo, and then the flashbacks to what it was like in Poland and at Auschwitz, and having to make that awful decision and having to deal with trying to save her son because she's already given up her daughter. Like, all of it is just, you feel it. It's from the heart, and she just sells it so beautifully. And it's a gut punch. It's heart-wrenching. It's heart-rending. It's beautiful in all of its sadness, and I can't think of another role where she played something quite that luminous and committed, and just when you finish the movie, I have to take like this really deep breath and just be like, amazing, absolutely amazing. So my number one.
Leanne?
Sophie's Choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I do apologize. My internet keeps going in and out. We've been having some really funky weather here today, so it's kind of going in and out. So I do apologize about that. I hate to say it this way. It didn't make my top 5. It's like number 6, because it's very depressing. It really is. And that's not why it didn't make my top 5. It's just I had some other movies that I thought that I liked her more in. That said, it truly is. It's a great performance. It's one of those performances where I don't know if you've ever had this experience before, where you can actually feel somebody's emotions through the screen, and this movie does that because it's just heart-wrenching. It really just kills you when you watch it. I rank it up there kind of with Schindler's List, because it's a movie that you want to watch it one time. You don't want to watch it again because it almost is like it's just too much for you. I mean, for somebody who has to make a choice like that, you're like, how can you? How could you? I don't have children. I would hate to think that I would ever have to, if I did have kids, that I would ever have to choose one over the other. But she's flawless in it. She really is. But she's got that kind of naked rawness too, that it devastates you when you watch it. Kevin Kline I think he's just one of the underrated actors. He always just gets.
All right. We may have lost Leanne there. But I'm going to say also that Sophie's Choice is number 1 on my Fast 5. I agree with Rachel and Scott and Alicia as well. I mean, how can you not have Sophie's Choice? I mean, Meryl Streep has done 47 movies, and there's just no other movie or performance than.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm going to let you finish what you were saying, Leanne, before I go on.
The three of them play off each other so well, because Peter McNichol could be considered like just a secondary character, but he's not. You know what I mean? He just doesn't have the kind of emotional baggage that the other ones do. It's a good movie. It really and truly is. It's not one I would readily watch again. It's heartbreaking. It really is. But she's flawless in it. Really, just outstanding performance from her.
Yeah, I was saying when you cut out, I started talking once you cut out there, Leanne. Yes, you can't have any other Meryl Streep performances number 1 in your Fast 5. This is like a no-brainer that this is her best performance. Even 30 years ago, almost 30-something years ago, this was, and it still to this day resonates how powerful this movie is and how powerful. The story of Sophie and Stingo and Nathan. I mean, you deal with the Nathan part of it in their regular time. You deal with his mental illness and so forth, and then you deal with Sophie's problems and her story in back, and they use the shrouded gray coloring and stuff. And I really give the director a lot of credit on how he did the backstory of Sophie, and then did the bright and colorful present-day story of Stingo and Nathan and Sophie, and she just looked like a complete different person in the backstory. But she also uses 2 or 3 languages in this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really showed you what she was going to become, and real quick too, she was on like this trend of giving up her kids. Of course, this time she had to choose one to have, taken by the Nazis. And then at Silkwood, she basically gave up 4 of her kids to her ex-husband. And then in Kramer versus Kramer, she walks out on her son. So it was weird that she had these 3 movies that had a similar kind of theme to it in a way, even though all the movies are completely different. But yeah, Sophie's Choice. Wow, I just rewatched it the other day, and stands up today, even though it's a 30-year-old movie, and her performance is phenomenal, phenomenal. Um, Ladies, we have come to the conclusion of the Profiles after show on Meryl Streep. I just want to say thank you very much to both of you for joining me this evening. Tell everybody, if I'm sure everybody knows where you can be found, but just in case there's some new viewers or whatever, tell them where you can be found.
Me? Okay. You can find me in Schmoville if you're not a member. It's Facebook /Schmoville with an exclamation point on it. We are there. We will accept you in lovingly. You can also find me on Twitter at LA So take a look around for me. I'm always floating out there somewhere.
You guys can see me on Schmoville. Also, I've been made an admin on the Profiles page, which I'm very excited about. Thanks, guys. And on Twitter at Rachel J. Cushing, and then my own movie reviewing website, which is getrealwithrachel.com, real with 2 E's. I also have a Facebook page for that website, so check it out, chime in on movies, and I'll be happy to chat you up. But thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You guys really gave a lot of insights and knowledge about Meryl Streep, and that's what we go for with the Profiles After Show. We want to see people that love who we're talking about. And last week we had a great discussion about Tom Hanks, and next week we'll be discussing, hopefully with some folks, Will Smith. And you can find me at Dan Skip Allen, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and I also have a website, not as good as Rachel's, but you can find my website if you feel like want to read any of my articles or anything that I talk about, called From the Fourth Row at WordPress.com. And I do a little bit of podcast, I don't know what you call, video review show with my friend Vinny Laspada called The Best Damn Movie Show. Also, you can find that page on Facebook. Thank you, everybody, and once again, we'll see you next week. Hopefully we'll get some good insights about Will Smith. Good night.
Good night.
Night.